are you vegetarian? Are you vegan? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it's like, it really doesn't matter. Just fuel correctly, whichever way you choose to. You just need enough nutrients, and deciphering that, I think, for as many people as possible is something that I see adding lots of value to the sport and to the community, because it just provides a better experience if you don't hunger bonk 21K into your marathon. And that's where I see it being of great value and something I truly enjoy.
Welcome to the Greg Bennett Show. I'm your host, Greg Bennett, and this was a very, very special episode. Well, it's my first time doing video recording for the show, so you can go check it out on YouTube. But more importantly, was a very special guest I had on the show with Olympic champions Simon Whitfield, Hamish Carter, Jan Frodeno, and of course, Alistair Brownlee, who's a two-time Olympic champion. We did miss Christian Blumenfeld, unfortunately. He is getting ready to defend his title at the Olympic Games. But big shout out to Christian. You were missed. We're looking forward to having you back on the show as well. This show just has so many great things in it. I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy it. They're very well thought out. They talk about the Olympic experience themselves, how the medal impacted their lives, both good and bad. And they give some great sound advice to young athletes getting ready for their own Olympic journeys. And just really great takeaways for all of us. These guys aren't just the best athletes in the world. They're very intelligent men that speak very well. And I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. I surely did. Most importantly, I'm really, really grateful to each of them for making this happen. For some of them, it was 11 p.m. For some of them, it was 6 a.m. in the morning. But we made it happen. I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. And remember, success comes to those who endure just one moment longer. All right. Here we are. I'm going to cut Simon Whitfield off right now. This episode, what an amazing group to get together from all corners of the world. Literally, to make this work has been almost impossible, but we've made it happen. Today, we have 4 legends of the world of triathlon, all of them Olympic gold medalists, and beyond that, they've done so much more for the sport. And for me personally, just 4 really good men that I think are leading the way for the sport of triathlon, but sport as a whole. First up, Simon Whitfield, our inaugural Olympic champion from 2000, and also with a silver medal behind Jan Frodeno in 2008, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, and plus he won Minneapolis and Hy-Vee and all the big money races as well. Truly one of the all-time greats through the sport. Next up, Hamish Carter, who also is one of the greatest to ever do the sport, winning the 2004 Olympic gold. He won the 98 World Series, and a bunch of medals across all the World Cup distances, and truly one of the legends of the sport as well. Jan Frodeno, recently retired and sitting here in his linen shirt. Where are you, Lake Como? Looking very leisurely, a man of leisure these days. 2008 gold medalist, and then went on to dominate the Ironman world, 3-time Ironman world champion, 2-time 70.3 world champion, and a host of victories all around the world. Truly one of the all-time greats. And finally, Alistair Brownlee, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, and a whole plethora of world titles, who really reshaped. Well, he kicked me out of Olympic distance racing, that's for sure, because the guy turned it up a whole nother notch, and is still racing and is still crushing it in the middle distance, has us all cheering for him. But guys, wow, thanks for all joining again on this show. 2 months out from the Olympic Games. Last time we did this was 2 months out from the last Olympic Games in Tokyo, and here we are all again. Man, we made it happen. How is everyone? Don't all jump in at once. We were all crazy. We were all crazy before we started.
Yeah, because you're recording.
I'm just trying to work out who's aging the best. Who do you reckon is aging the best? That's the most important question.
Well, I actually thought we should have a weigh-in, Greg, and see what weight you raced at to what you are now. No one looks like they've let themselves go, which is a real shame.
I think I was hoping we'd have a little bit. Simon got a little plump there for a while, but he's back.
Yeah.
He's doing all right. Yeah.
Simon looks like he could do with a shave. He's like, let his face go a bit.
Yeah.
Do you know how long this took me to grow?
Yeah.
I mean, this is 6 months. I ain't doing that for you guys. You're four of my favorite people, but I ain't taking this off because it took too long to grow.
Well, we lost Jan Frodeno, but I think he's going to come back anytime soon. But why don't we do this? Why don't we quickly go around the room? Simon, we'll start with you. What are you up to these days, mate? I'd like to know what's going on.
How do you answer that? I'm at home right now. My day's focused around all the things that keep me up late at night that I like working on, and 2 kids that I gotta get to soccer practice and volleyball and school and all those things. And in my own spare time, I'm playing soccer and badminton. I'm loving it, and I want to see if I can fight Hamish in jiu-jitsu. And other than that, just I don't know. Here I am.
Well, you're working at the feed too, right? Or you're consulting with them, aren't you? Didn't you build the whole amazing team there?
I'm part of that. I'm really enjoying the work stuff. We're working on fun stuff. Alistair and I get to chat now many times a week, and that's such a highlight for me right now because we're working together on a bunch of stuff. Really enjoying it. It comes with all the stuff, all the ups and downs and all the I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but
fake it till you can make it.
I know. I'm just pretending like the rest of them, but in the meantime, my pretend day looks like that.
Very good. And Haim, what are you up to, mate? It's been 3 years since we caught up. What's been going on?
Yeah, I run a people and culture team or an HR function for an IT business at the moment. Been doing that for a couple of years now. Still living in Auckland, New Zealand. 2 kids, they're still great, and still married to Marissa.
Still married to she's still hanging around.
Yeah, still hanging around.
I don't know how she does it, buddy.
Yeah. I'm still pretty active. I guess I do a bit of foiling these days, a bit of paddling, still run a couple of times a week. I worked back in before Tokyo. I was running the high performance program for triathlon here in New Zealand for about 3 or 4 years, which is really pretty cool to help the sport out again. But for the time being, have stepped away and doing some different stuff and really enjoying it.
Good man. All right, next up, Jan, you're back. Where are you? What are you up to 6 months into retirement?
6 months, and I'm still surprisingly close to the sport, which is shown by the fact that I accidentally booked my holidays exactly in the spot of where Triathlon World Cup is meant to be happening this weekend. Literally, I was treated to Christian Blumenfeld in Speedos along the beach today, and I was like, how did I end up here? Other than that, I've moved to the mountains about as far away from anything to Andorra a couple of years ago, which has been great. Absolutely love it. It's cool, like kids, family life, and that's kind of where I'm trying to find the balance right now of retirement and being home more. But at least when I'm home, I'm at least present. I'm not totally fried anymore as I used to be, and still enjoying training outdoors and finding things to do. I'd love to try foiling, but it's not that easy in the mountains. Apparently, you can snow kite or something like that, but that sounds daunting.
I have seen that. It looks pretty gnarly, but I think it'd be good to try.
Yeah, great. You go ahead. Tell me how it was.
Yeah.
I'll meet you there. We'll go to Snow Farm and do it.
Yeah, Snow Farm.
Can we in?
And you're involved in a few businesses too, Jan. You on high demand. You're getting people reaching out, wanting you to. They know you're retired now.
Yeah, it turns out I'm traveling more than before. But it's interesting also changing from being the face of a brand to being involved in the day-to-day and talking to people and learning new elements of how these things work. When you kind of before just smile, stand here and sell this, to actually being involved is a really cool process of learning, I guess. And that's the real big change, is that the improvement is so much more vast because you're starting from so far down the line that it's actually quite satisfying. Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it? I feel like you're learning, you're drinking through a fire hose. It's like we've all been consumed by sport for so long, and then you come out into the business world like, crap, I got to catch up here. It's like, well, I didn't even understand the language they're talking. What about you, Alistair, mate? You doing business and sport. Last time you were doing your what is it, PhD around winning Olympic gold medals and stuff. I don't think this guy ever just does one thing. But mate, what are you up to?
I'm currently sat at home in my house in Yorkshire. I've been training quite a bit today, actually, training with Johnny. We don't do that much together anymore, so it's been nice this week to do quite a bit of training with him. Still rubbish weather. I spent 4 hours yesterday cycling around in the rain. So, yeah, still training, but not training quite as much as I used to, and definitely running a lot less than I used to. Racing at the moment in mostly middle distance, and kind of see how that goes for the rest of the year. But it's very much a balance between trying to look after the body and maximize my kind of race ability, which is a new challenge in some ways and something that I'm enjoying. I guess alongside that, I've got interest in all kind of things actually. Everything I like to kind of define as everything that I do is removing barriers and helping people be more active in some shape or form, and that is everything from the foundation, which this week is in full flow. I was at a foundation event yesterday at my old school in Bradford, and we've got over 5,000 kids doing events with us this week, and we're running events over 4 or 5 weeks all over the UK. Hopefully get up to over 20,000 kids do events with us, to stuff through the international sports governance with the IOC Athletes Commission that keeps me busy across a bunch of IOC commissions as well, which I've really enjoyed, and I'm very much enjoying looking forward to being in Paris on the other side of the barriers this year and just going to watch whatever I want.
And you're starting tech companies. You're making me feel kind of a bit not very good about myself right now. I must admit. Oh, Jesus. You're always the one that's like doing so many things, buddy.
the most important, the most important thing I learned in life is find good people to do stuff for you.
Yeah. No, I get it. Mate, that's awesome. And Simon, you mentioned that you guys are chatting a bit, you and Alistair. What are you guys working on that
what are we working on, Alistair? We don't know yet.
Oh, is it all quiet?
Yeah.
No. You got something out there.
It's not quiet.
No, we kind of realised that there's a potential to, I guess, use a form of chat-based AI language models, but building specific language models for sporting context, whether that's athletes or retailers or brands or a combination of all of those. Without going into too much detail, if you see in the news anything about language models using other people's IP data information, well, if you think what is it going to be going forward for people to be able to interact with consumers, whether that's fans or brand consumers, and owning the data for them to allow them to interact in a way with those people, and what does the next kind of social media and language models look around that. I think that's a fair. I'm trying to define it. It's quite a difficult.
No, I want to talk to you more about this. Simon, what do you want to add to that?
I think. Am I still here? Just a sec.
You were like this last time, wasn't Simon? Dropping off and on last time. Go on, buddy.
Back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Oh, it keeps telling me. Okay. I was working on. My dad retired from DuPont as a senior research scientist after 35 years, and wrote a series of papers on everything from the electrification of the BC Ferries fleet to food waste management, mining waste management in the Chilcotin Valley. And he would send these papers to info@bcferries.com, and he'd get like a voucher for a free hamburger back from them. And they'd say, thanks for your contribution, Dr. Whitfield. And so I said, hey, Dad, and he'd be livid. They're not listening to me. And I say, hey, Dad, that's not the approach. Let's build you a large language. Let's use a large language model to understand what you've built in these papers so that they're inquirable. It's not easy to do. You have to get the right people in place. As Alistair said, you got to meet great people. And then all of a sudden, Alistair came out with Pascal at brownleefitness.com, and I WhatsApped him and said, oh my goodness, you built it. You did it. I've been trying to work on this for my dad. You did it for you, and you had the courage, more importantly. Alistair, you had the courage to actually put it out there, because it's quite intimidating. You're putting out yourself and these answers, and sometimes people will maliciously try and hack it. My dad's, it's a closed ecosystem. We just give it to a professor at Guelph, and he says, yeah, this is great. Thanks for here. I'm inquiring. So when we compared notes, we realized that Alistair had hired this incredible human named Pete Pastides. Is that it? Alistair? Pete Pastides at Podium Tech, and I called him up and said, "Hey, let's work together. I love what you're doing," and the rest is history. And we'll see where it all goes. It's really just an excuse to get together and spend more time together. And work
You don't know what you're talking about, really.
Yeah, I'm just pretending that at the end of the day, I'm trying to bait these guys into coming fishing with me at Nemo Bay.
It's funny, that so many of us have gone down the tech rabbit hole, and or even the startup entrepreneurial space. And I kind of feel like the athlete to the entrepreneur are very, very similar. Being a professional athlete, you basically are an entrepreneur running your own business and, hedging your bets on yourself. And it's much the same as this entrepreneurial space and then going into the tech world, I think there's a lot of similarities to sport as well. So really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with there. And I did go check it out, actually, Simon, after we last spoke. Hamish, what are you working on? You said tech company. You didn't really give us much. HR.
It's a people and culture team within a tech company. What I really enjoy is taking those aspects of what it means to succeed in sport, like with your team around you, and just bringing those aspects into a business context. And so all the things so when I worked in the New Zealand high performance sports system, we did a lot of research into that. We called them, medal winning behaviors. So we studied like 30 or 40 campaigns that won medals. And then we also looked at a bunch of campaigns that didn't win medals. And the medal wasn't necessarily the delineal line, but we're looking at what was going on in the ones that were successful or produced the personal best, and what was going on the other side, the other ones that weren't successful. And what it dawned on me was it was actually just about people trying to achieve really difficult stuff with limited resources, and that's what businesses are trying to do. So the way in which people work together and set goals and communicate and have routines kind of relates directly into what every business is trying to do. Because people turn up to work each day, they want to do a great job. They want to be recognized for their effort, and they want to succeed. And they've got to overcome a lot of adversity in a business context. So within the business that I'm working for at the moment, the people and the culture and the HR component is what I'm lucky enough to lead at the moment. And it's awesome. I love it.
That's
it's really,
cool.
really interesting work.
It is amazing taking some of those sporting analogies and bringing them into the business world. I'm constantly having to refer everything back to triathlon. And it's like, and it helps as a reference, right? I find that even this new company I'm looking at working with, it's like, guys, I need to know the destination. I need to be clear on what the destination is, because I can't focus on the process and the day-to-day unless I'm very clear on where we're going. And you think about setting the goal of winning the Olympic Games or whatever it is, world titles or whatever you're trying to win, you put that out there, and doesn't mean you might not pivot at some point and have to change the destination, but without having a destination, it's very hard to get excited about the day-to-day process, right?
Oh, totally, yeah. And the other thing, I think, goals for people either enable their performance or they make it much harder. So I think how you set goals and how you manage them, they all it's all different for each person. So, and I think we've all had to grapple with that, right? Partly trying to win an Olympic gold medal is really hard and messy and ugly, and it's pretty brutal, but people just see you win. But there's all that crap in the background which you don't see. And so I think it's that part of it for me is the most fascinating.
Very cool.
So
that's what I'm doing.
I can't get over, Hamish, is that that answer you just gave with your gamer headset on and your HR. It's very serious, and yet you are literally one of the funniest people I know. So you just gave this very straightforward answer. And in the back, for anyone who doesn't know Hamish, you truly are one of the funniest people I know. And to see you with your headset and your brother printer behind you is just killing me.
Your brother printer. And hang on,
that's a product placement. I'm getting paid for that.
You need cartridges.
I love it.
Like you're such a funny dude, and so I understand what you're talking about there. you just said it so brilliantly. And also Binnamy's just like,
yeah,
it's like, he's so funny.
Well, hang on. We have a chief performance officer on this call as well. Jan, mate, your new title. Fueling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fueling. I had Scott Tyndall on the podcast only a few weeks back, and he was celebrating bringing you on. Mate, what's that been like?
It's been really cool. I mean, I've done a few tech startups, and none of them have actually come off all that well. I mean, kind of most of us had some sort of contact along the line of Super Sapiens, which sort of failed spectacularly. But fueling during my career has been like one of my big passionate topics. I believe there was so much, and I remember like in the early 2000s when I met the first pro cyclists, and they came out and they'd do like a 5-hour ride and they'd drink half their 500 milliliter bottle, because drinking used to be considered a weakness, and eating,
eating's cheating,
and yeah, pretty much. And now it's just turned out to be this gel hot dog eating competition during an Ironman. I mean, you're trying to, if you're fueling a long ride properly, it sets you back $50. And that's how much you're eating. I mean, it's crazy, and kind of diving through that jungle has been something that's always interested me, something that I've always really enjoyed, and I think is something that I get asked about the most as well. Like if you go around, it's a lot of doubt. It's such an individual topic. It riles everyone up. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it's like, it really doesn't matter. Just fuel correctly, whichever way you choose to. You just need enough nutrients, and deciphering that, I think, for as many people as possible, is something that I see adding lots of value to the sport and to the community, because it just provides a better experience if you don't hunger bonk 21K into your marathon. And that's where I see it being of great value and something I truly enjoy working on.
Awesome, buddy. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I love the fact that you've, it's one thing to retire. It's another thing to you got to keep moving, and everybody here is kept moving. There is somebody missing. Now, last time we did this, like I said, 3 years ago, right before Tokyo Olympics, the guy that ended up winning the Tokyo Olympics said in his post-race press conference interview on BBC, I listened to the Olympic champions of the past, and I wanted to have a seat on that show in the future. Well, we did invite him. Everybody should know. But Jan mentioned that he is in Italy. They're about to race. But Christian Blumenfeld is being missed. He's going for a repeat. Alistair, mate, the only one here that's repeated. What advice have you got for Christian Blumenfeld as he's getting ready for Paris?
I think good luck.
Luck's got nothing to do with it.
No, luck's got everything to do with it. You can control everything else, but you can't control luck, chance. I actually think that's a really important point. Like, jokes aside, understanding, having a ability to it's called probabilistic decision make, and understand the role that probability plays in it, and be able to work with that to your advantage. I think all the cliches of like winning things multiple times are probably not true for any particular reason, in just that it does get harder. You get older, the condition, the competition gets tougher, the course might be different, the conditions might be different, all those things. I think it is only good luck. I think all of us here, I've got no doubt he'll be prepared as well as possible. And that's ultimately all he can do. And all he needs now is a bit of luck, I guess.
Reflecting back, you guys, I mean, we can pay out on Christian because he's not here, or he'll probably listen to the show later, but let's skip forward. If I get you guys to reflect back on, let's start, and we did recap this a little bit last time, but I just want to sort of get, for people, new listeners, reflecting back to your final journey into winning your Olympic golds, what were some of the emotions that you were having to manage, or that you had going into the Olympics in your own experience? All of you had very different experiences. All of you were at different points of your career. Some of you were kind of at the tail end. Hamish, you were a bit older. Simon, you were kind of starting out. Jan, to some degree, you'd been racing a while, but you hadn't had any major wins. So I'd love to just get where your heads were at leading into the Olympic Games, the month out, the week out, the day before. Just, you can, just do it briefly. You don't have to go in too depth, but I'm very curious to get that. How about we start with you, Hamish?
Okay. I think because I was at the end of my career, I had come to accept the level of doubt and fear and uncertainty of not knowing what was going to happen. I'd learnt to let go of the actual result that I wanted, because I couldn't operate at a high level while I held that. So I almost had to let it go to be able to perform at the level I needed to. And I think that took a really long time for me to learn that and be able to apply it under pressure. Because I learnt the hard way in Sydney that I couldn't hold it too tight. I had to let go. And so the theme of the race was all about trust. And, just there was let the race unfold as it would. So
well said. No, it's good.
Yeah.
I like that. Wow. It makes me think why I didn't win. Why you beat me. Damn it, I was holding on too tight. Not that this show's all about Greg, by the way. I'm just Oh, shut up, Jan. You're next. What do you got for us, buddy?
Oh, man. I mean, for me, it was, as you said, not only that I hadn't won many, I hadn't won a single big race before Beijing. And so my theme, if yours was trust, mine was Troy to believe, because it was my childhood dream that was kind of came at a young age. My parents were intellectuals, and sports was never a thing, but we watched the 92 Olympics at my grandparents' house, and the TV was running like 2 weeks straight, and we watched every event, and it was probably my way of rebelling and finding my own way in life. And so I knew the Olympics were special, and I saw the 2000 Olympics. Fortunately, I had no idea who was racing except for Conrad Stoltz, who was a South African who came 20th, because I lifeguarded his open water swim. Yeah, exactly. The caveman. Because I lifeguarded his open water swims on Sundays around Cape Town. And so I knew him, and so I had a relation to the sport, and that's how I got into the sport, because of Sydney. But it was basically a long journey until Beijing, and it took a lot of mental work, mainly, to believe that I could do it, because up and until then, no matter what happened, I always got beaten going into the race. And so I just remember like the hours and hours picturing the race, trying to figure the outcome, and trying to control all those things I had no control over, which I realize in hindsight. But I was very much outcome focused, and remember sitting in a hot, stinking, sweaty Jeju Island, which is in South Korea, just getting heat adapted, and taking the batteries out of the aircon remote and giving them to my coach, making sure I couldn't turn them on at night, and just going through all the motions to try and get ready for the big day.
That's cool. And when you said belief, actually, if you go back and you look at that race, that is the way almost you raced. You had a very young Alistair Brownlee taking it up like a maniac. How old were you? You were like 12, Alistair? I can't remember how young you were, but you were very...
20.
20, I'm sorry. But I remember you just going for it. And then, Simon, you fell off the back, came back on, and Jan, it was like this, you were just constantly there, and then you went for it at the end. It was a very cool race. But I love that. Maybe you can each pick a word. Trust, belief. All right, Alistair, with the man that's done it twice.
Pressure.
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 London Olympics.
overwhelming emotion for sure. There's lots of very amazing. So I'm picking one purposely. There were lots of very amazing emotions, and being prepared and the incredible kind of experience of going to home Olympics and all those things. But yeah, an overwhelming sense of pressure. Where I remember 2 particular kind of occasions where it really hit me. One, I was going into like the local store just on a street corner, just a few hundred meters from where I live. Normally no one cares about triathlon. As much as we all love triathlon, everyone loves triathlon who's listening to this podcast. The general public don't, and that's how it had been. And I remember someone, as I'm buying a pint of milk, saying, "Oh, are you looking forward to winning the Olympics?" And I just thought, this, people have no idea. You don't just turn up and win the Olympics. That's not how it works. And just all added to it. And then I remember like fast forward Johnny and me like running around Hyde Park a few days, like a couple of days or the day before the actual race. And not only is there pictures of us everywhere, there's like people running after us through the park trying to get pictures with us. And we were just like, this is ridiculous. And then the morning before the race, just my overwhelming emotion was, we better not mess this up. And so that was the big thing. But as I think I've said many times, that the pressure really was ultimately probably a positive in lots of ways. I stood on that start line knowing that I was as well prepared as I could be, and I was fit and healthy, and the pressure became an enormous positive.
I love that. But did you feel like you were free to do whatever you want come Rio? You had 1 gold medal, so it was kind of like, now I'm free to play?
No, I really wanted to win again. I had a narrower kind of band of strategies I knew that I could win through. So in some ways, it was, I had less chance to kind of for maneuver in the race. But I guess it's another massive cliche in sport, isn't it? That the most significant pressure is the internal, the pressure that you put on yourself. And I think most people here will say that's true. I think anyone who's trained for something for whatever, how many hours a week, for how many weeks a year, for how many years for one race, if you don't feel an enormous sense of pressure for all the time, effort, preparation, selfish decisions, everything you put into that, then you're probably in the wrong game anyway. And I think that's one of the great kind of dichotomies and crucial things of really good elite sport. Can you do all of that, put all that preparation together, and then stand on a start line and be in a race and cope with that and know that there's no reason why you shouldn't perform to the best of your ability on that day? Well said, buddy. Simon, how about you, mate? You got one word?
Magic.
Magic.
It's related to awe. It was fun. It was magic. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it in any way. I went to school in Sydney. I graduated from the steps of the Opera House. I was the first to get to the start line when it was announced. I wandered over at September, whatever, when Juan Antonio Sam Wrench made the announcement. I walked from where it was announced to the start line. I was there alone. That's, I don't know, what do you want to call that stuff? Magic. Those things come together, and I'm sure I just somehow in my mind's eye had constructed this outcome minus, the direction in which to err. But that's what comes to mind. It's related to contentment. I was quite content. I love what you said, Jan, about just and Hamish about being at peace. But then I like what you're saying, Alistair, about admitting there's a lot of pressure, admitting that and having the courage to walk up to that, not being like, I want to be Kobe Bryant taking the last second shot. I don't want to be on the bench watching. I want to take that shot. And if I miss it, I miss it. But I want the pressure. But all that to me relates to, I stood on the start line in Sydney, and it was just magic. I just was so content and happy to be there. That same place that Hamish, you were 4 years later, and Jan, you were, and Alistair, you guys all get. And so, and all the way back to Bloom, for him to listen to the same thing 4 years ago and then say, I'm going to be there. There's a bit of magic in that. And the athlete and the person that he's become, there's a bit of magic in that too. It's so great to see. And I do like the fact that he didn't show up today because he's racing and he's honoring performance in 2 days or whatever it is, 3 days. So there you go. Magic.
I don't like that. I wish he was here.
I thought you didn't like my word.
No, your word's great. Your word's great. I wanted to see Christian.
Who here would show up? Imagine you were in his position and you're racing in 2 days. Who would be there? Who would be there? No one.
I think I would want. I'd be intrigued to be part of it, but look,
Well, the problem is it's 9:30. What time is it, Jan? 10 o'clock at night there? What is it?
Yeah, it's 10 past 10 right now.
10 past 10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the race is 2 days out, 3 p.m. start. But still, I mean, that's what he does. I mean, he is that mono-focused, and I think that's what I got to appreciate the most about him when I actually met him for the first time a few years later in Bahrain and spent some time. Like, he's just so incredibly focused, lives and breathes the sport, lives and breathes performance. And yeah, I have honestly got nothing but admiration for that. I mean,
he seems to really love it.
That's how we all were.
Yeah.
And it's just a cat chasing a mouse. He runs across the road and he doesn't see it because his bike's on the other side. And yeah, it's
obsession. Isn't it?
It's remarkable. It's remarkable. It's beautiful to see from the outside.
It's really cool. I've got a question that a listener sent in, knowing that I was going to be talking to you guys, and I would ask you guys, the impact of winning gold and everything. And I think we did that in the last episode, and I think you've all talked about, the way that you've had to embrace your community and there's a responsibility that comes with it and all sorts of things. But his question was actually, and this is from Lee Shelvis, and he says, can you ask the gentleman if there is a narrative in their minds when they wish they hadn't won their medals? I'm curious if the lows have ever outweighed the highs. Any of you got anything to comment on that? Has there ever been a point where you're like, sometimes this gold medal's a bit of a burden? Crickets.
Yeah.
Haim?
I would definitely a few times. I think I definitely wouldn't change it, but I think what's really challenging is that so New Zealand's a small country. You are known well for doing one thing, and you know that you're so much more than that. And so I think there are definitely times where you feel you've got to reinvent yourself. But after a long time, you also realize, no, you don't actually have to reinvent yourself. You can just be whoever you are. But I think you get help. You get caught up in it all because it's everywhere all the time, and you kind of want to sometimes separate yourself from it because it's just one day. Like it shouldn't carry as much weight as it does. So I think it's partly my own hang up, but it's also just the constant. That's what you did, so that's who you are. But it's actually that's not true. But hey, we're not talking about this is a major downer. It's occasionally, occasionally you're like, oh, you know what? I kind of just want to I just want to stand on my merits. I don't want to have this one thing define me forever. So
yeah,
but, it's not something that keeps me up at night. It's just occasionally.
Who of you? I'm curious. Who of you have an Olympic rings tattoo?
No.
None of you. None of you got labelled. I don't either. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
But Haim,
where are you going with that?
I just want to. Well, you were talking about you don't want to be known just as an Olympic gold medalist. And sometimes I think if you put a tattoo of an Olympic rings or whatever, that's who you want to become known as. I want to be known as an Olympian. It's like, well, no, I want to be so much more than that, right? Or Olympic gold medalist. Yeah. It's like I'm hoping to we started this show by all of us dipping our toes into this tech world and entrepreneurship and trying to rebuild ourselves and drinking through a fire hose in business. It's like we all have high performance mindset where we're like, right, what's the next thing I can conquer, right?
Yeah. There's one final thing, Greg, is that I think I do feel a big responsibility to do something with it, but equally, I don't think you if you choose not to as well, I think that's okay. Because again, it's like we just have. I think we probably will have quite high expectations of ourselves, which we have to. But actually, sometimes you've got to be able to let that go and go. You know what? I don't need to be anything or do anything anymore. I can just do stuff because I want to or not do it. So it's just, sometimes about letting it go, I think can be quite helpful.
Do you guys ever...
Have you managed though? Have you actually ever managed to let it go? Because I find that pressure that you have and that comes with the medal, that kind of is that, Alistair was talking about the internal pressure, but the external pressure is kind of, to name another cliche, is a privilege of sorts that you work for your whole life. And then once you have it, it's kind of, it's something that I'm struggling with the most now probably is not having it anymore. Like all pressure now is internal to do whatever you do. Because no one expects you to build the next venture, to build the next business, to build the next this or that. And have you ever managed to just let go of it for yourself and just be like, oh yeah, I can just be mediocre at this?
Not really. I guess I'm really conscious of it. What I noticed that when I retired is that whatever I went into, that I and people expected me to be just as good as that new thing as I was as an athlete. But it's ridiculous, right? You have to completely start from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think it's about just being aware of it and not being such a hard ass and trying to just, connect with the people around you. Don't expect to be phenomenal at something else. And I don't think I have learnt to let it go very well, but occasionally getting better at it just to kind of take it down a notch.
It's kind of like
I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, of all people, Be Useful.
Arnie. Yes, great book, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's cool.
I did think so because he's the master of transition.
Yes.
Like he has taken his career and he has redefined himself completely twice over.
Mm.
And I was interested to hear about his method. And he kind of explains it quite well in the book.
Help me out, Jan. What's in German? What's be useful? Seriously, what is it? How do you say that in German?
What makes you think I read it in German?
No, but I know I can't speak German. You made it.
That's kind of like just throw it out there.
No, seriously, I'm curious. I really like that. I really like that be useful. So what is that? I'm just curious. In German, what does that? Say it.
To be honest, I don't know. I read it in English.
I want to double down on Arnie, by the way. I want to double down on Arnie because what I loved about him is he didn't just turn his back on bodybuilding. He used who he was and built upon it. So he was a bodybuilder, the world's greatest, and then he built upon that to become the world's greatest actor in the 80s. But he played a role where he was the Terminator or whatever and the strongest man. And then he built upon that to become the governor. And he would have become the president of the US had he been born here. I have no doubt. And plus he married a Kennedy. I personally find a lot of inspiration. I'm not saying his life is perfect by any means, so everybody's yelling and screaming that he had an affair and everything. I know all that. My point is the way to Jan's point, I love the way he kept pivoting. And I love the book, which is all about, look, if you're not useful, we don't need you. And that to me is a nice slap in the face of perspective. I hear all these guys saying, I want to live forever. The first thing I ask them is, well, does the world want you? And so it's like you guys have all been useful in terms of inspiration and aspiration in terms of your Olympic goals. And it's like now having to reinvent yourselves and be useful beyond that. It's a good slap of perspective, I think, in a good way. I want to pivot. Let's shift gear. Olympics, Paris, coming up. It's been hard to really look at a form guide. We haven't had a lot of racing. We're recording this on May 23rd, May 24th for Hamish, so you got a little bit more insight than we do, buddy. Anybody got predictions? Should we go around and predict a podium? What do you think? Men and women? Simon.
Great. I'd love to eat more glass shards.
We're going to see how many we can all get wrong. I feel like Alistair's probably the most in the know because he's at least racing. Simon, you're in the know because you work at the feed and you're sponsoring half of these athletes.
Repeating's the hardest thing to do, I think. So I cheer for Bloom.
Well, you can't just cheer. I want you to pick somebody.
No, but he's going to win. I'm
okay.
Bloom.
All right.
He's the defending champ. I think Alistair, what you did to repeat the concept of that, I've had my own glimpse of that. That to me is like the real, like, wow, I didn't just do it once. I did it back to back. I'm always cheering for the person who's put themselves. It takes so much courage to do that. So I'm cheering for Bloom, and I think he's going to do it because I want to see the repeat, because that would be the highest benchmark of like, that guy did it and then he did it again.
All right.
See Flora do the same thing.
I want to see Flora do the same
thing. That's what I think is going to do it, and I think that's what I'm cheering for.
All right. Who wants to jump in next?
I'm normally like Simon. I like to cheer for the favourite, which is the opposite to most people and the British way of doing things. Always have. Don't really know why. But if I'd put my money on Alex Yee, and I'm not just saying that because he's British. I think he's obviously a phenomenal race winner, and I just can't see Hayden. I think Hayden Wild's going to be close, but I think Alex has always got the measure over them over the last few hundred meters of the run. But that said, if you actually look at it analytically from the men's point of view, probably more than almost any era, it's, if you look at who's won races over the last 2 years, it's absolutely wide open. Really is. Like different people have won so many of the World Series races, different world champions over the last few years. The world champions in Leo Berger the year before and Dorian Connex, none of us might even mention. So yeah, that's just the kind of analytical point. On the women's side, again, yeah, I'd love to see Flora do it, but it's very hard to bet against Beth, I think.
Beth Potter. All right. Well done.
British double. Just Alistair, just for your information, the changing world champions, that used to be a thing before you were around. That used to happen all the time.
Yeah, that's right. I felt like everybody got to swap races until Alistair came along and said, no, I'm going to take them all, greedy bastards.
But I think is it not been like particularly open over the last few years? Like I think that point that the last two world champions, most of us wouldn't mention as a favourite, is quite an interesting one.
Yeah, that's true. Especially being a French Olympics and them being
And are they both on the team yet? I don't even know if they're on their French team yet.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We've got to predict the relay as well. Yeah, the Brits are going to win that too, but it's going to be close with the French.
Yeah, the British and the French.
All right, British.
I'm cheering for Richard Murray.
Holland these days.
That was amazing. Guy had open heart surgery and then runs his way through to qualify for Olympics in the relay and then win a World Cup 6 years after he won the last one. That's it.
That's a good story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's life. Like that, Richard.
Big shout out, Rich. Yeah, that's cool.
Big shout out, bro. Yeah, stay upright.
Yeah, stay upright. Yarn, mate.
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I'll start with the ladies. I mean, double qualified for the Olympics. Oh gosh, here we go.
Taylor Knibb.
Yeah, Taylor Knibb. Thank you.
That's right.
That was super impressive.
So
for
amazing
her to qualify. Off basically no Olympic preparation either, and then throwing in the Kona in between.
Unbelievable.
I wonder if she can kind of commit herself. I also wonder if the course can play enough to her strengths. But riding those cobbles, I mean, she's a phenomenal athlete either way, and I take a lot of inspiration from that. Flora with her long injury streak coming back with a top 10 straight away. I think she's just arrived here in Italy as well, and kind of wish all the best for her. Hayden Wild, did he just run 13, 20 something for a 5K?
Jeez, really?
I mean, it's ridiculous.
None of us would have careers, by the way, if we had to go up against these. Although they do have super fast shoes. Everywhere, don't they, Hamish Simon?
And aerodynamic bikes. Here we go.
Yeah, they got everything.
That's the minute and a half I'm looking for.
Yeah. You sound like Mark Allen now. I wish I had that in my time.
Oh yeah, no, they're phenomenal.
Just a minute and a half.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but I do have to say, I think Christian's got it pretty dialed in. He's got a similar. He didn't have a great start to the 21 season. And I just looked at him today. He would have swam at least for an hour open water. Like, you can just tell he's training through these events. He just has one focus. And best of luck to him.
Mm-hmm.
And for the relay, anyone to take it away from the UK would be great.
I think we can. I think the French are our best bet on that one. Like Alistair said, I think maybe the US. Maybe I don't know.
It's definitely a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot closer. So it's going to be good to watch.
Yeah. And Jan, do the Australians even have a team for the relay? You were saying your missus Emma, also Olympic gold medalist, is now working for TA. Are they going?
Yeah, they don't. They've got a relay qualified, but they don't have a single female qualified at this very point. So tomorrow's their last chance.
Wow!
And it's totally discretionary because no one's met any criteria. So in terms of medaling, I think Germany has a higher chance of getting a team's medal.
Wow!
And,
so Triathlon Australia doesn't have any individual women qualified yet.
No, they've got Matt Hauser and
Luke William.
Luke William.
Yeah.
He's a young kid. They've just qualified, but I think they have a third slot as well. So
the men.
Yeah.
Who's running Triathlon Australia these days? Does anybody know? It's not Miles Stewart still, is it?
No. They had a whole debacle after 21.
Yeah.
The Sports Administration Industrial Complex got hold of that.
I have no idea what you're even saying.
I bet you all do. But you do.
We need more.
We can have another podcast for the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Hey, is there going to be a swim in Paris? Because that would be a real shame.
Did you do that one in '96, Hamish? The World Cup we did in '96 in the River Seine.
Yeah, I remember swallowing about half the river.
Remember all the dead fish floating down? I remember the dead dog right
Horrendous.
near the start on the side of the river.
Yeah.
Because I saw a report and they're like, no one swum in there for
30 years to clear it up.
I know.
Yeah.
We all turned out fine. We swam in it.
Gemmell will be out there cleaning it up.
Gemmell
will be out there with a flag for sure. Flag and a walkie-talkie.
He'll be getting someone else to do that.
And a clipboard.
Why is your handle, Bert?
Somehow I think they'll find a very clean glass of water right on the side there, and it's going to be measured and it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the show must go on.
The show's got to go on. It'd be disappointing if they actually didn't have it. I mean,
they've got to do that.
Give them some charcoal tablets; they'll be fine.
Yep.
Right. And Hamish, how about you, mate?
Oh, look, I'm just going to say I think it's a stupid question. Who cares what we think? I mean, we don't know what we're talking about. Just let them go race, and we'll see what happens.
He's the funniest one.
I think you said something similar to that last time. It wasn't helpful at all.
Come on. But there's two things I would say, though, after saying that. I actually think Alex will win. I think the way he's prepared. But on the caveat, I'd say Hayden, if he's angry and he's fed up with just missing, I think it's his time to actually go, this is my race and I'm going to take it. And he's totally capable of it. Amazing athlete. So I want to see him win.
I really like Hayden Wild, Matt Hauser, mainly because I've had really great chats with them on the show, and they're really brilliant young men. And they'd all be great ambassadors for the sport. When you start to think of beyond just the individual gold medal, who would represent the sport well, and I don't know Alex Yee. I haven't had him on the show, Ali. So when you talk to him, can you tell him to get back to me on one of my DMs? But honestly, I go for the people that I've had on the show. I think to Jan's point, I think Taylor Knibb has just been. It just blows me away what she's doing. It's phenomenal. She's just crushing it. And if the cobblestones do create, the friction that we maybe hope for in a race in terms of they create something, then obviously she's going to be the strongest, and do some damage. But I think for the French, it'd be really great for the sport when we talk about ambassadors to see Cassandra Beaugré. She's a beautiful woman, races off. I just think she'd be fantastic for the French to have that. And or the French team do beat the Brits just for the sake of winning on home soil. I think that would be quite a fanfare to watch the French.
Vincent gets his medal.
Vincent gets a start, firstly.
Vincent
I think
gets his start and his medal.
Yeah. I think we're all fans of Vincent Louis. Is it Louis or Louis? I don't know. Big shout out to Vincent as well. All right, guys, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you for a bit of advice. One bit of advice, because we got all of these Olympic athletes are now listening. They're all getting ready. They're listening to this about 6 weeks out. What's one piece of advice? I know you kind of spoke about what your emotions you were feeling before, but if there was one bit of advice you could have been told going into the games, what would help? Simon, you can start with this one. Put you on the spot.
I'm not trying to be. I'm that. Learn to love fishing. I really learned to love. You
are so off the cuff. How have we been mates for 30 years? I have no idea how your brain works.
Let me say it. Okay, I didn't get fishing before, but I get fishing now. I don't. You came home with more calories than you left with. That is the ultimate competition. It's such a beautiful thing. I love that part of it. I don't care if I catch fish. I want to do it with a javelin, but if you learn to love fishing, you get the whole fishing thing. The beauty of that, the contentment, and then the patience it takes, then you'll get the rest of it. If you get that piece, that's learn to love fishing.
Okay, and so off that, can I expand on it and maybe help the rest of us try and understand what you're saying?
Sure, help me understand.
Well, basically, you're trying to get to neutral, find peace,
It's beyond the race course.
Don't overthink it. Yeah,
it's just the thing I love. What I do now is I can go to these. I joke about over 35 soccer, and I say, oh, it's just the Masters B, but I love it. I love being with the boys. I love going out and being a part of a team. I love the fact I don't have a left foot, so I got to always bring it to my right foot. I can just run around guys for longer than they can stay upright. But my come to contentment, we lost in a penalty shootout to FC Brazil in the over 35s Masters BC thing. And my contentment in it was I really just want to, I go fishing. That's where I care whether we catch what we said we were going to bring home. That's the place that I go to get the rest of it. So the rest of it, I can just be content in how we do. And I can arrive like Hamish did in Athens, just content and trusting in the process. And I can do that because I go fishing, and there's where I go through it. I go through those moments what the hell's going on? What am I doing in my life? What am I doing? What's all this mean? And I find contentment in it. And then I bring that to the rest of my life. But I mean that really seriously. Go learn to love fishing.
It's almost
whatever that fishing is for you, but for me, it's fishing.
Perspective might be the word we're looking for.
Sure.
Hamish, what about you, buddy?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I think there's similar to Simon. There's a big part about letting go. Remember, you're only trying to deliver your preparation. So if preparation's been at the right level, if you can deliver that, that's achievable, then that can be the performance. And probably the big one is actually find joy in the chaos, because that's the sweet spot. Although it's uncomfortable, there is joy in that, and that's hard to do in a genuine way. So I'd say that's what I'd say.
I love that. Find joy in the chaos. All right, Alistair.
Yeah, it's really easy, isn't it? Just to say, enjoy it, make the most of the experience. It's the Olympic Games. It's what you've, et cetera, et cetera. It's what you've, for all of us, I think we've all said in some shape or form, it shaped our lives well before we were elite athletes. And so take a time to have a breath and experience just enjoy that experience. But I think at the same time as that, remember that it is a race just the same as any other race. And that very clearly hit me that first time I went to the Olympics in Beijing. I literally remember standing on the start line and, looking left and right, and it's blue carpet, and thinking I'm going to dive in and swim 1,500 meters, and looking around and you're racing the same people you race every other week. So it is just a race. And I always had this theory that actually very few people, like 10% of people or so, probably perform at the level you'd expect. Maybe 10% of others, or even 5%, perform better than you'd expect, and everyone else underperforms at the Olympic Games. So if you can just perform at a good level or slightly better, then without overdoing anything, you'll probably outperform what you'd expect on a normal day.
Well said, mate. Awesome. Jan?
There is so much there. Of course, it's your one chance that you've worked a lifetime for. and yet you've deserved your spot. You've deserved your seat in the front row, and that in itself is something to relish, I think. And it comes back to what I said earlier. Like for me, it was so pivotal later on in my career to realize that once you're there, you've earned the pressure, so you might as well enjoy it. That feeling that you've got sitting deep down in your esophagus as you're about to go, and that's caused so much turmoil as you were a youngster, just becomes the greatest privilege. And we've all worked so hard for it, and every single Olympian has. It's your chance, Go for it. Take the shot. That's all you can do.
You almost make me feel nervous, Jan. You're painting a picture. I'm like, shit, let's go hit something. It's really good.
Get that ITU music going.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, jeez.
I still hear the drums when I go to indoor soccer.
Oh, those drums. Who came up with that?
I got a quick question for you. I got a very relevant question for you. Okay, see this case right here?
What is that?
Cool. What is that?
So
looks like a violin or something.
This is the case that a Nike Ice Vest came in.
Oh, no way.
You held this case back in 2008. We knew each other, right? We were in that green room. We kind of knew of each other, but we hadn't really spent much time. And you, in my memory of it, you walked over like, oh, cool case. And you went and sat so calmly, and you were just sitting over there doing your thing. I'm sure inside the turmoil was going, but on the outside, I was like, uh-oh, that guy looks way too calm. And so, yeah, there you go. You had your ice vest on. I had one that came out of here. I use it now as a Faraday case. But I recognized it today. I saw it. I was like, oh, yeah, right. That's, yeah, you've actually held it. You held this up and you go, oh, cool case. Like, let me see it. So, yeah, there you go. When you went and kicked my ass, you were very calm and you knew what that was.
There you go. I don't think I knew what it was, but it was strangely enough. It was a moment of calm. I remember looking at one of the American guys and looking at his face and thinking, no, this might be a long day for him.
He's in trouble.
He's in trouble.
Well, guys,
you look so calm. Yeah.
What's next for each of you? And then I know, Jan, you've been incredible, mate. You said you were coming on for 5 minutes. So a big shout out to you. Alistair, I know you're in the middle of a big, heavy training block. Really big shout out. Hamish, you got up early in Auckland. And Simon, you're bludging work, I think. I think you meant to be actually working right now and you've slacked off. So all of you are awesome. But before I let you go, what's coming up next for you? What's coming up next for you? Alistair, for you, mate, you're the one still racing. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, well, I take one day at a time these days. Firstly, tomorrow we've got one of our foundation days in Leeds, in South Leeds, so I'm going to go to that, see loads of young people do their first ever triathlon, so that's cool. Weekend of training, and then I'm heading to San Francisco at some point for the next T100.
And can you listen to Jan commentate next time and just slow down that first mile, please? Just we're all yelling at you, mate. We want you to win these things, and we're screaming as part of the old boys club. We kind of we need you to just slow down that first 5K. All right, Jan was doing an amazing job commentating in Miami. I think he was screaming, "Please slow down!" So anyway, we're rooting for you, buddy. Go get him.
Thank you.
And Jan, mate, what's next for you?
I think the next thing is probably also the T100, just going around commentating on the series, going to Paris and working for a whole bunch of events there, actually, commentating TV, trying to keep fit. I missed Alistair by a day in Girona, actually, the other day at a gravel race that we're going to do, which is probably a lucky thing for me. And yeah, trying to figure it out, day by day, week by week.
Mate, well, first I got to tell you, you're doing an outstanding job commentating, and I don't mean to just blow smoke up your butt, but you are doing a really good job, so keep it up. I'm glad they got you doing the Paris Olympics. Who are you doing that for? German television or? Yeah, for Germany. Awesome, buddy. Well, mate, all the very best to you. Hamish, what about you, mate?
Just a normal work day.
It's Saturday morning, isn't it? Oh no, it's Friday morning where you are.
No.
Yeah.
I've got like, I just got a bunch of meetings. But just regular life, just stuff. Nothing too exciting, but I really enjoy it. So, pretty cool. And it's going to be windy this weekend, so I'll be out on the water doing a bit of foiling, charging around, 30 kilometers an hour, cutting through the water. It's the coolest feeling.
That's so
You've got to
cool.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
I'm going to do it when I get down to Australia. Simon, you mate, what's next?
I got it. My dog is right over there sunbathing, Constantinople, Opal. So I'm going for a long walk with Opal. True story.
That's it. That's it. Okay. Literally, what's next?
I gotta think about foiling. I gotta figure out I got to foil. But in the short term, as soon as this car clicks off, the dog's looking at me like, "Let's go get some exercise." So I'm gonna get some forward articulated motion with Opal.
Well, guys, I appreciate you all. I know you've all got tons of things on. You've done 1,000,000 of these podcasts, and it's like, oh shit, Greg's reached out to me again. I got to do this show. But I really did want to get together before the Paris Olympics. I hope we can all catch up again, maybe earlier than the next 4 years before the LA Olympics. But this is really cool. Really appreciate you all coming on. Stay on the line before I hang up because I do need to download your files. Jan, I know you're ready to run off to bed, but just give us 1 second. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening to the world's greatest podcast show, The Greg Bennett Show. Okay, I'm manifesting that, but let's make it happen. And you can find all the show notes, timestamps, and everything else at bennettendurance.com/media. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job, Greg.
Thanks
See you later.
Bye.
Good job, Greg.
See you, Greg.